You fill me up till you're empty. I took too much and you let me. We've been down all these roads before, and what we found don't live there anymore. It's dark, it's cold. If my hand is not the one you're meant to hold, maybe I'd be happier with someone else. Maybe loving is the reason you can't love yourself. Before I turn your heart into a ghost town, show me everything we built so I can tear it all down. Down, 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 down. You know I'll stay, don't you tempt me. But all this weight is getting heavy. Been holding up what wasn't meant to stand. I turned this love into a wasteland. It's dark, it's cold. If my hand is not the one you're meant to hold, maybe I'd be happier with someone else. Maybe loving is the reason you can't love yourself. Before I turn your heart into a ghost town, show me everything we built so I can tear it all down. Down, 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 down. Tear it all down. Down, 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 down. The streets are empty, where love once was, but it's faded away. These broken memories, I'm left here alone and afraid to say, maybe you would be happier with someone else. Oh, maybe I'd be happier with someone else. Maybe loving is the reason you can't love yourself. Before I turn your heart into a ghost town, show me everything we built so I can tear it all down. Down, 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 down. Tear it all down. Down, 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 down. Tear it all down. I'll tear it all down.
Try not to abuse your power. I know we didn't choose to change. You might not wanna lose your power, but having it so strange. She said you were a hero, you played the part, but you ruined her in a year. Don't act like it was hard, and you swear you didn't know. No wonder why you didn't ask. She was sleeping in your clothes, but now she's got to get to class. How dare you? And how could you? Will you only feel bad when they find out if you could take it all back? Would you try not to abuse your power?
So are there people online right now? Can they hear me? Hi, guys online. My name's Derek. You're all very awesome today. But we'll be done. Oh, you guys, so they can't see me, they can only hear me? That's awesome.
I thought that I was special. You made me feel like it was my fault. You were the devil, lost your appeal. Does it keep you in control? For you to keep her in a cage, and you swear you didn't know. You said you thought she was your age. How dare you? And how could you? Will you only feel bad if it turns out that they kill your contract? Would you try not to abuse your power? I know we didn't choose to change. You might not want to lose your power, but power isn't pain.
All right, Juan, we probably could kill the music if you're online and listen to the music. Thank you guys for joining us. I see everyone funneling in right now. See, if you're at home, we have free food, sandwiches and beer and wine and cookies. Bam, I love it. For those of you online, I do apologize about us starting a little late. There were some accidents on the highway, which kind of slowed everything down. Use my fake Texas accent. I don't think that's really a Texas accent. That's just a hillbilly accent, man. All right, Juan, is the camera on? Are we good? All right, guys. So for those of you out there online, right, like I said, we have a few people still kind of funneling in. There was an accident out there on the highway, so it slowed everything down. We do apologize about the late start by about 10 minutes or so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first start by introducing all of our vendors today that helps make this possible. I know for those of you online, you don't see everything that's going on here in person, but we got free food, we have free drinks, we have free cookies and all sorts of other stuff, and it's all paid for by the vendors. So I'm going to start with actually one of probably the most energetic vendor we have here today. And that's going to, yeah, you already laughed. You know who you're coming. Let's talk about some auction.com stuff. So come on up. Yes, sir. Bam. I'm going to pass the mic off to you, my friend.
Do I need a mic?
No, you don't need a mic. We got people online.
I know. They could hear me without it. Hi, guys. I'm Evan R. Press. So I'm with auction.com and been with them about 8.5 years. I'm an auctioneer and auction manager with them. We do the live foreclosures at the courthouse steps. In Texas, it's the first Tuesday of every month. When they get sold back to the bank because nobody wanted to get it at the price that it had to go for, which the trustees dictate, it goes onto an online auction 99.9% of the time that we also handle. We are the marketing arm. We are the middleman. So we don't set the prices, et cetera, et cetera. We do what the trustees want us to do, open it at this price. It's got to get to here. Great. So what I tell people when I'm there is that I'm the substitute trustee. I'm representing them today as the auctioneer, but I'm there to help you guys. We want you to get as good a deal as possible. We just don't know what the good deals are. So the whole key to it is due diligence. You have to know about liens and all that stuff. We don't know any of that. It's all on your guys' shoulders. The technology that these guys, they've done $45 billion in 9 years. I said 14 earlier, in 9 years. In sales. They know what they're doing. They've created technology that is all free. Everything we offer you guys, there's no cost. It's for you to take advantage of and make it easier and more seamless. From due diligence to remote bidding, you don't have to be there. There are many places, and then I'll shut up because I know you want it quick. Okay. You sure? Well, then I'll take 10 more minutes. There are many places, we call them the outlier places, Liberty, Waller, etc., where very often there won't be any bidders. If you've done your due diligence and it's a great deal, and the auctioneer is there, and oh, I got a remote bid, and that's the only bid, you're going to get it for $100 over the credit bid. It happens all the time. It's been happening when I first went to Liberty probably 6 years ago. It's happening today at places, or there'll be one or two bidders, and they aren't interested in that property because they were interested in a different one, or they already got a different one, so they don't have enough money for that one. So you can wind up getting crazy deals. I was in Brazoria, and then I was in Fort Bend today. 3 out of 4 in Brazoria were grabbed, 4 out of 4 in Fort Bend. In Harris, 24 out of 26. Because the bidders and investors are, hey, I'm used to making some money, so I'll make less money than I normally make because there aren't enough properties. So take advantage of the fact that we have really decent deals right now, and you can remote bid. So if people don't show up, you're going to get a great deal. I'll explain all that stuff, names and numbers down there, and we'll make sure we at least get you up to speed with it. But I can give you a little mini tutorial when you see me after here.
Thank you. All right, guys. Yeah, round of applause, round of applause. So the next vendor I want to kind of bring up here, I want you guys to understand is outside of Quest, I am a real investor. All right? Being a real investor, I own multiple rental properties, and it's nice because I don't make a whole lot of money from them. My real plan is to go ahead and, hey, let the tenants pay down the loan. The money I make from the tenants stays in a separate account to pay for any expenses, in case the tenants break some stuff. But the only reason I can accomplish this is I need to have good tenants. So what we did is we decided to bring in a fantastic property management company. So can I get someone from Real Property Management up here? Awesome. Give them a round of applause, y'all. Woohoo! Tell me a little bit about what you guys do.
Thank you for the lead-in. I'm Brett. Thank you, guys. We love sponsoring Quest events. There's a lot of value given, a lot of value gained, and so thanks again for us being here. I'm here with my colleagues Holly, Megan, and the other gentleman in a vest right outside the door is Brandon. We're Team Invest. That's an inside joke. Anyway, we represent two sister companies, Texas Turnkey Properties and Real Property Management Preferred. You've heard a lot about the build-to-rent model. Our owners, Sean and Joni Wolfswinkle, you may have heard of, have been doing it for 10 years. So before it became a keyword, right, or headlines that you see. And what Texas Turnkey Property does is that we develop single-family homes and primarily focused on duplexes right now. We then fill that home through our property management side with qualified tenants, very well qualified tenants, and then we manage that property and sell that complete package to an investor, true turnkey model. So two sister companies, Texas Turnkey Properties and Real Property Management Preferred. If you would like to get some value, ask us some questions about the build-to-rent model or about property management, maybe you're self-managing and need a little advice, we'll be happy to help you.
Thank you. All right, guys. So the next person I really want to bring up here is those rental properties I just mentioned. I had to get a loan, right? I don't have $1 million in cash sitting in my back pocket. I wish I did. But so to help get a loan, there's a couple different loans out there from hard money and private money. My homestead house, I used a VA loan. And believe it or not, for all of these things, I've used the exact same lender. I really have. So can I get someone from Blank Lending coming up? Gabe, is it you? Yes, sir. Awesome. So I got Gabe from Blank Lending.
Derek, thank you for the intro. And absolutely, that's it. It's the from A to Z lender, right? Everything that's conventional that you have a house that you want to live in to a house to invest in on the conventional side. If the house won't appraise, right? If it won't appraise and you need funding to get the house acquired and rehabbed, we help you there as well. It's from A to Z. If you want to, and then transfer that in, refinance that into an investment property to hold, great. We can help you through the whole process. With the private money side or the hard money side, however you want to word it, we fund all the deals internally, and then what we'll do is then turn around and sell the notes to private lenders. So we'll fund, obviously, at a little bit higher rate, and then we'll keep the gap that we charge, and then keeps the lights on, and then we'll turn around. And where's HR? No. So it creates a real estate note, and so I have real estate notes here available actually right now. If anybody's interested, 8% interest, but return annually. Anyway, we can reach us, come meet us, come out. Ravi Kaku's right here as well. Raise your hands if you're interested. If not, come meet us out there. How to reach us, blinklending.com is the best way. Just go on the website. The phone numbers are all listed on there. Come meet us, come talk to us right here. Awesome. Derek, thank you.
Thank you, Gabe. Sorry for hitting you in the face.
Always something with you, bro.
Right? Do I have anyone from Jet Lending as well? Jet? I thought I had someone from Jet. Oh, well. All right. Well. Oh, is he coming? Yay, nay? Oh, we're going to keep moving. It's all right. It's all right. So, before we get to our main speaker, I actually have a special guest that showed up here, and I didn't really expect, right? And so what's funny is a couple times a year, we bring in a very specific CPA to talk about multiple different topics, all right? Mainly, it always comes down to solo 401ks or UDFI, but we were very fortunate to have him show up here today. So, Adam, do you mind if I have you come up here real minute? Just for a minute. So Adam Barr here, tell me a little bit about your firm, what you guys can do, and just how you can help everyone.
That's the first time I've ever been called a very specific CPA, so I'm going to put that on my business card going forward. Thank you. It's lovely to see all you guys tonight. You might have seen me before on Quest presentations about UBTI, UDFI, basically paying tax within your IRA when you have a debt leveraged investment. So that's something that I can definitely help with. If you have a self-directed IRA and you're investing in something that has debt leverage, you need to be concerned about whether you potentially have a tax liability and a tax return to file for that. So I'm happy to help with that. I heard some folks over here earlier in the evening talking about whether it makes more sense to convert their traditional IRA to Roth before using those funds to invest in real estate. So that's an analysis I can help you with as well. And then do we have any syndicators in here who put together apartment complex deals? Yeah. So I do a lot of those from a tax planning and compliance perspective. That's actually one of our major practice areas as a firm and one of mine personally. So I'm happy to help with those if you guys have heard, that your investors aren't getting their K1s fast enough because the accounting firm is slow or whatever. We make that a specialty and we make that something we really focus on so we get them all done timely. So those are the kind of things I can help with. And in addition to that, if you're a small business owner, a medium-sized business owner, we do a lot of that type of tax work as well. So I'm happy to help you guys with anything you like, and you know where to find me. So thank you.
So guys, Quest, we can't ever endorse anyone, right? We never can. But there's only one CPA, and we work in all 50 states, by the way. All right, only one CPA we ever bring in to talk about these type of topics, and that's the gentleman that was just up here. So just keep that into kind of some consideration, all right? So make sure you guys reach out to Adam Barr here afterwards, and he can help you out. So without any further ado, I really want to talk briefly about our speaker that's going to be coming up here because I'm a little jealous. The reason why is me and him are the same age, all right? I currently own 2 rental properties. I own about 7 notes. The gentleman that's going to come up here, though, with me and him being the same age, has literally done more than 100 properties to date, right, between him and his wife. Every single day, he gets to wake up and spend time with his kids, how he sees fit. His kids even now are somewhat developed and working in the real estate aspect with them because they start to understand. They go with them to closings. They go with them to see the properties. And so we wanted him to come in a little bit and talk about how he's been able to change his life and develop his real estate portfolio with him and his wife, because I know it's a whole family organization. So Chris, come on up. Everyone give Chris Bounds here a big round of applause. I'm going to let you take it away from here, Chris.
Thank you, thank you. Does this work? I usually do the handheld. I don't know. Yeah, leave that there. I may need to hold it because I'm used to holding something, but I guess I got my water bottle. I guess this is my clicker. All right, all right. How y'all doing? Y'all get caught in the traffic? Sorry about that. I actually got here way, way early, but I guess that was a good thing. I'm going to thank you, Derek, for the wonderful intro. You always make me sound a lot better than the way I feel, but ultimately my business strategy has been pretty simple over the years, and I'm going to, and it's involved into more of what I'm going to show you now in this presentation that's specifically tied around how we turned a $10,000 would-be flip into a $100,000 deal. And there's a little caveat to it that I actually just discovered yesterday that I can't wait to share with you, and hopefully you can help me solve this dilemma that I'm actually in. I don't have my notes, so I'm doing this blind, which is cool because I've done this a whole bunch of times, but I'm kind of an introvert. I rely on very dry jokes. They may not be funny. If I do remember them, just kind of laugh, not long, it helps me out. Here's me in college, about 2000, well, it says 2004 there. So I'm 20, 21 years old, wearing the fashionable cargo shorts, very high socks, tennis shoes, Abercrombie shirt. My fashion sense has only been improved by my wife. But that was my first deal. First deal. I knocked on doors. I went every single weekend to knock on doors to pre-foreclosures as a college kid. That was the only thing I knew how to do. I'm like literally knocking on people's doors as a skinny 150-pound college kid trying to say, hey, let me buy your house. And this guy said yes. I was ecstatic. And that's how my real estate journey got started. Ended up buying four houses that first year. And then moved. I went to Texas A&M. That house was in San Antonio, but moved to Houston. And my real estate journey really didn't take the next level until 2011. Got married, and I'm starting to think about the future, retirement, college or private school for our kids, college funds, and all this other stuff. So I dropped this bomb on my wife's lap. And she tells this joke a lot better than I do. We're a couple weeks from being married. She comes from a very conservative background. Like, you get a job. She's a teacher. You get a job, you work, you retire. And I dropped this bomb in her lap. I'm like, hey, babe, I want to start flipping houses again. And she's like on the couch, and she's like, okay. She was very supportive, and eventually, we ended up getting our first deal, and I'm going to actually show you what one of the first deals we got in a minute. But 2014, got my real estate license. 2015, went full-time in the business. 2018, joined eXp Realty because it aligned with my passion of building wealth and passive income. There was a brokerage that allowed me to do that with my license, so it made sense. And 2020, I started Invested Agents. Actually, Invested Agents was born out of a local event that we used to do in Sugar Land, Texas at Rudy's Barbecue that Quest used to sponsor before COVID. COVID kind of killed that event. So we brought it online, and ultimately we tried to teach real estate agents, and really just anyone, how to build wealth and passive income with real estate. Then in 2021, finally went into the large multifamily space. And as of today, my wife and I are published authors. Kind of crazy. Thanks. Interesting story. Won't get into how that got started, but it's something we've been wanting to do for a while, and ultimately we just wanted to share. We were able to share various tips and advice and resources that we've learned over the years by coming to events just like this and learning from some really, really smart and successful investors. So all in all, 65 million in transactions over the years, 19 million raised from private lenders, including a lot of Quest clients to fund our deals, 44 million assets under management. Most of that is from that large apartment complex we did last year. I'm a small general partner in it, so it looks good on paper, and I put it there for effect. It doesn't mean I'm worth $44 million, but we are going to get an early exit for it. It's looking like possibly, maybe, and the numbers look really, really good, and I'm excited about that. 393 units. Again, most of that's the apartment. 200 flips, and one of the top agents at eXp Realty. So that's me. This is my family. This is my why. That's Jamie. She's worked with me in the business since we went full time. Like she's been working in the business the whole time, and since we both went full time, we've been partners in crime in this thing ever since. So they are why I get up before 5 a.m. almost every single day. Usually it's 4:30. I'm an early bird, so it's not that difficult for me. When you do multiple presentations a day, like today, it can get tiring, but I do it because of them and my 8-year-old son Nathan, who's in private school. From day one when we got married, we wanted to put our kids in private school. Real estate's allowed us the ability to do that and to afford that, because it ain't cheap. And then Ellie, who's 5, goes into private school. That bill hits us next year, so I need to get some more rental properties. All right, so before we get into what I'm going to talk about tonight, a couple disclosures. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a CPA. He's a CPA. I'm not a financial advisor. I am a real estate agent, and I am an investor that's doing exactly what I'm showing you. So I'm not necessarily showing you this to say, hey, do exactly what I do, but definitely take the framework of what I'm going to talk about and filter it through your own risk tolerances, your own goals and position in life, and run it by your own professionals, your own CPA, your own attorney, and see how it can help you achieve your goals better, faster, hopefully make more money along the way. Anybody read this book? And I know we're online too, so if you read the book, like I can't see your chat, unfortunately, but drop a fire emoji or a thumbs up in this chat. So this book, like at A&M, I got a C in accounting. I worked hard for that C. Like I was really, really happy I get this C. And I didn't understand a lick of it. And then I read this book and I was like, boom, it all made sense. I don't know what it was, but it just, in its simplest way, explained and outlined how money flows. What was the show of hands who's read this book before? So it's a sequel, or it's not a sequel, but it's a follow-up to the Rich Dad Poor Dad series. Ultimately, what it did is it showed the importance of buying income-producing assets. Buying assets that produce income, like rental properties, and how that has a multiplier effect on wealth not just wealth creation, wealth preservation, but generation. Wealth equals time. That was a concept put in that book that Robert Kiyosaki talked about. Because ultimately, most financial advisors' wealth strategy is for you to die before you run out of money. That's not really a strategy I want to play out. Plan on living to 120 with modern medicine, as long as I don't get hit by a bus. If you have more passive income coming in than your expenses, every single month your wealth goes up. That's the game I really want to play. So it's keeping it passive. If you can have that passive income exceed your expenses, you're therefore out of the rat race, your wealth is going up every single month. So that's what I want, as we're going through this, keep that concept in mind because I think it's very important. But unfortunately, most real estate investors run their business like this. They make a lot of money, but they're not buying assets. They're selling them. And there's nothing wrong with that. I did it. We flipped 200 houses. I would much rather say we bought 50 and we kept all of them, though. We sold them. We didn't have jobs. That was our job. That's how we made money. We had to flip. The entire business model was designed on operations, paying acquisition managers, paying for marketing, having an office. We had to pay for those. Those are very expensive things. We were spending $30,000 a month at one point in marketing. Just insane. So we needed to flip houses, wholesale houses, to bring in money. But the problem is, once we stopped, the income stopped. Just like a job, just like a realtor out there selling commissions. You can make a lot of money, but once you stop selling houses for clients, you stop making money, you quit your job, you stop making money. That's where the passive income. Now, thankfully, along the way, we did accumulate rental properties. But there's a lot of ways to make money in real estate. And if you're in the business long enough, you're probably going to be doing more than one of these. My advice is strongly, strongly, strongly consider holding more assets, more rental properties than you currently do. And if you're not, does anybody not have a single rental property right now? And that's okay. Okay. So it's easy. You just got to get one. And I got a little secret too, because a lot of people think you need a lot more than you really do. But ultimately, the landlord enjoys the most benefits. As a lender, I mean, you get some cash flow from interest, and it's definitely very passive per se, because you're not out there doing all the dirty work. Wholesaler, cash flow only if you get enough volume. The flipper has a little bit of extra advantages, being able to leverage money, other people's money. But the landlord, they enjoy the equity capture, through debt pay down. They enjoy the cash flow. They enjoy the appreciation. Oh, the appreciation over the last 2 years. They enjoy the tax benefits and leverage. So here's a strategy, the slow flip strategy. It's a variation of something else you may be familiar with, the BRRRR strategy. Has anybody heard the BRRRR strategy? So the BRRRR strategy is buy. Typically, you're buying off-market deals, probably need some work, so you're going to need to rehab them. That's why you got a discount, right? Because if it was all ready to go, it would have gone in MLS. So you got to rehab it, then you rent it out, get a tenant in there, have them start paying rent. Now you got to refinance. Now, a little secret here. When you're buying, you're using like Blink Lending, Jet Lending. You're using or private lenders, Quest clients to finance the acquisition. Because if you buy it cheap enough, you can probably get them to loan you 100% of the money. And then it's usually short-term financing, and then you can refinance out into your long-term 30-year mortgage, 4%, 5%, or whatever, depending on the type of loan product. Refinance out, then you repeat. That's the BRRRR strategy. Buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. The little caveat to that is sell. That's why I call it the slow flip strategy. And so this dawned on me. We had flipped, it's probably around 120, 150 houses when finally Jamie and I were like racking our heads behind. It was like, the more we grow, the more our expenses grow too, and then competition's increasing, so margin's kind of shrinking because we have to buy more, so we have to take on a little bit more risk. We're not really making a lot more money by buying all these houses, but the ones we held, why are those the ones that end up being the biggest and best deals for us? And it was because of the slow flip strategy. Here's the case study. So this is a deal we bought at the end of 2020. And I need you to help me on a little decision here. So we bought this house. It was, by and large, online, y'all hear, what does this house look like? If you're online, share what emoji that makes you feel like. I've walked a lot of houses, so if we flip 200, that means I probably walked 1,000 houses. This one was the worst hoarder house I've ever been into, because it wasn't just like a normal hoarder house. It was a hoarder house that a tornado went off in. There wasn't a place you could step in the house and not worry about what you might kill that's underneath. And it smelled that way too. But what'd you say?
I said it smells like money.
That's what I was gonna say. That's what I smell, opportunity. So I have a funny video accompanying this picture, not on the slides, but it's on TikTok if you want to look me up, or yeah, I think it's on TikTok. So here's the living room. Walk through this house. Oh, we bought it. Turn it into this, using the buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. 9-day difference. Now, this house was designed from the beginning to be a rental. I never intended to flip it. But when we closed on it, I went back and realized, hey, if we had flipped it, because we had already switched models, we're holding. We're only going to flip something we just don't want. But I was like, what would it have been? We would have made 10 grand on this flip. Now, the reason is rehab went up a little bit. I mean, because the place was so trash, I couldn't do proper due diligence. Certain things we just couldn't see. And then on top of that, surprises always happen. So there was a little extra repairs, which also is extra time. But all in all, if we flipped this house and made 10 grand, that's disappointing. And I would consider that lucky we didn't lose money. But all in all, a lot of work, not much reward. I would have been pretty disappointed. But we rented it out. This was the 5-year projection. So we bought it December 2020. I think it was leased April. Yes, because the tenants come up April 30th. So it was leased in April. So the 5-year projection based on COVID appreciation not continuing. So that was not baked into this pie. So at the end of the 5-year period, 95 grand at proceeds, not bad. End up being, after a little bit of disposition costs, 91 grand gross. Not bad. Like that's a good check. This is how it would all pan out. Got a purchase price there, 103,000, a little over 55 in repairs, cash flow over a 5-year period, roughly 20 grand, selling at 243. I think I used around a maybe 3.5% appreciation rate, averaged, giving us a gross profit over 102,000. Net profit after acquisition and disposition cost wrapped in, roughly 87,000. Assuming nothing weird pops up between now and then, over a 5-year period. 10 grand, near 100 grand. Like which sounds better? Which one do you want? But here's the slow flip strategy. Put one of these in your pipeline this year. Put another one in your pipeline next year, and then next year. And then when it comes to year 5, if you actually want to sell this thing every single year, you can have a 100 grand payday on top of whatever else you're doing. How would that be? Now, here's my dilemma. Tenant's going to be moving out April 30th. We just found this out. So I went and pulled comps. COVID appreciation has continued. If we sell, now I haven't seen the inside. I know it's going to need a little bit of a make ready. But if we sell, the net take home at the end of sale will end up being about 78,000. That's my projections. Assuming make ready is not more than like 5 grand. Should I sell it? 78 grand in 1 year, or 14 months, 15 months. And I was gonna make 87 over 5 years. Who would sell it? Sell it? Kind of where I'm leaning. Could probably multiply the, use the equity a little bit more in the multifamily fund that we're gonna be going on. But this is it. Had we sold this house, all that extra 80 grand, 70 grand, or whatever it ends up being, someone else gave it up. Wholesalers lose the most money in opportunity costs. Flippers too. But of course, that's all projection. It's not my pocket. So let me show you actuals. This deal is the very first deal that Jamie and I did. So we did the only thing in 2011 when I dropped that bomb in our lap. I did the only thing that I knew how to do, and that was knock on doors for pre-foreclosures. So that's what we did. And within about a month, we got this one in Sugar Land, Texas, off Settlers Way. So if you know Sugar Land, you got Settlers Way, not too far from the mall and city center. We bought this house. I've got it in the other slides, but based on memory, I think it was like 70,000. Like, try getting something for 70,000 there now. Any case, you can't really see it well, but in the bottom picture, there's carpet. That carpet's blue, except for in a large part of the area, it's actually stained, like almost black, because they had animals in there and they haven't cleaned the carpet since blue carpet was in fashion. It smelled that way too. This is the one and only appointment Jamie went with me on to the actual appointment. And she had to politely excuse herself because the smell was that bad. I had my poker face on and locked up the deal right then and there. She enjoyed the rehab phase a lot more than the acquisition phase. So, we do a lot better rehab, but that was our first rehab job. Ultimately, we're trying to meet the comps. So that's what we did. And then, like a lot of times when prices are moving up, taxes, insurance tend to eat up cash flow. That was what was going on with this property. So we decided to sell it after about a 3-year period. This is what the numbers looked like. 85 grand purchase price, so I said 70, so here we go, 85. 65 grand in rehab. We actually did 2 rehabs on this. We did an initial rehab in the beginning to get it rent ready, and then we did a more premium grade to maximize the comps when we sold it. Cash flow 14 grand over a roughly 3-year period. Sold for 237, which I had my license at this point, so I'm the one that listed it, giving us a gross profit of $100,000. Had we flipped this house, 30 grand. 30 grand, 100 grand. But it's actually better than just 100 grand. CPA can tell you, long-term capital gains. Had some depreciation along the years. It was nice. It was nice. We had full-time jobs at this point. But after this property, no more. That actually funded our full-time venture in real estate. 5806 Hoover. This one's right up off 290 in like Pinemont, if you know that area. Way before all that construction started. So we bought it. They started construction. That had a little bit of a benefit to the appreciation in that area. We didn't need to do much rehab in this house. We actually, I think it was a HUD home that was foreclosed on. Someone must have rehabbed it and couldn't pay their mortgage. We took it over, put a new roof on it, a couple things here and there, rented it out 3 years, and then when we did end up selling it, it had the same story as the other one. It just appreciated in value. Taxes and insurance were eating up cash flow. Decided to sell it, and so we did a premium remodel, sold it, bought it for $36,000 in repairs, 13 grand in cash flow, sold it for 224, giving us a gross profit of 119,000. Again, this over a 3-year period, flipping would have been roughly 30 grand profit, 120 grand gross profit, not bad. And long-term capital gain, depreciation along the way. Starting to see how holding assets can pay off over time. They're not all home runs like this. Like these sound nice. We've got plenty of 40, 50 grand ones, but it's just taking those swings. Here's a plan of action though. So what if there was a way, actually I got a little secret on how few properties it takes to be a real estate millionaire. Does there anyone want to guess how many it takes? One?
Depends on which property.
Could. Absolutely could. So let's just lay out this plan of action. So you got to play with static numbers, otherwise it can get really weird, and if you're an Excel nerd, you can really play this out. But assume in 175,000, depending on your market area, really even Houston. I mean, you can go out, you can still get these, but if you just assume these numbers, they pretty much will maintain even if you want to go up and down the price scale. But an ARV of 175,000, giving you a 75% loan to value, 131, rent following the 1% rule, 1750, PITI, I think I estimated around 5% there, 1268, which you can probably still get cheaper than 5%, especially if you're going conventional. 10% reserves, 1750, leaving you a net cash flow at 307. So what I want to do is I want to play a game and just plan out, what if you did this? What if you followed that slow flip strategy and you bought one property a year? Does anyone think that you can't buy one property a year? All right, so we're all on board. You can buy one property. So buy one property a year and do it for 10 years. Year one, you got your one property, $307 in cash flow every month. You are not rich. You cannot quit your job. But you did get some equity because you bought it at a discount, right? And you got some cash flow. But you're going to do that continuously for 10 years. And at the end of 10 years, this is what it's going to look like. $3 grand a month, almost $500,000, but you're already a millionaire. All you have to do at this point is let your tenants pay off the mortgage. It's that simple. You actually have $1.75 million in assets under management. Once your tenants pay them off, if they don't go up in value at all, you're a real estate millionaire. Now, real estate tends to go up over time. But even if they didn't, you're winning the game. You're winning the game. Now, that's a static example. That's not really the slow flip strategy, because remember, we sold. But here's the secret. On every single one of those houses that we sold, I did not go out and buy a Range Rover. I did not upgrade my house. I still live in the same house. Did not take 2 or 3 months and go travel Europe. There's nothing wrong with doing any of those things, but if you're going to spend everything you make, it's hard to grow wealth. We reinvested it, and it's that exponential returns. So it's probably why I heard some people say, take the money on that one deal that we can achieve in 1 year what I was projecting for 5, because I can now take the equity and deploy that into multiple properties now. So say you did this. You bought one house a year for 10 years. Except on year 6, you're going to do something different. In year 6 and year 7, year 8, year 9, year 10, you're going to take a look at your portfolio and you're going to figure out what property is it either went up the most in value, therefore cash flow is probably pretty low at this point because of taxes, or it's the biggest pain in the butt. I've got a couple of those. It's a maintenance hog. You just don't like the tenants in the area. Whatever the reason is. You sell one house a year in years 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you bought 10, but you ended up selling 5. But when you sold those 5, you took all the equity and you reinvested it to duplicate themselves. Not just buy and replace it, but to buy, you sold 1 to buy 2. Does that make sense? Follow me here? So at the end of a 10-year period, now you have 15 properties. So instead of $3 grand in cash flow, you have $4,600. That's real money now. Like, there is a bit of a myth on what cash flow really is, because ultimately rental properties it's a wealth building play. It's not necessarily a cash flow play, but $4,600 a month in that cash flow, that's real money. I mean, could you quit your job? Maybe, especially if you have another spouse that's working. But you got well over $500,000 in equity, and you control $2.63 million in assets that when they pay them off, even if they don't go up in value at all, $2.63 million, that's a nice benefit to your retirement, right? You want to go a little crazy? About 2 a year. 2 a year for 10 years, you got 20, but we're doing the same thing on 6 years, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sell not just 1 on those years, you sell 2. And when each time you sell 2, you're going to use the equity proceeds to double themselves. So now you're buying 4. So at the end of the 10 years, you got 30 down. $9,200 in cash flow. 4.5 million assets under management. Now this is something where most people could probably quit their job and do it full time if you wanted to. I know some of y'all are a little bit more in. Yeah.
Are you doing a 1031 exchange?
This is just a simple example. So you could, if you did, and which is only going to amplify the returns. So 1031 exchange, like kind of exchange, where you can defer taxes, very smart. I've never done that. Now with larger properties, it ends up being more impactful. I do know people who have done that. My strategy is, as long as I'm acquiring, I usually have so much depreciation where it soaks up any gains I have anyway. But yeah, if you want to be crazy, and if you get real big goals, buy 3 a year. So the first 10 years, you got 30 properties, but doing the same thing, what we were talking about, years 6 through 10. Selling 15, but actually buying 30 more, giving you 45 net, gives you almost 8 million assets under management. Is this surprising to anyone how it can compound? Like, I mean, I'm sure it's not surprising that it can compound, but what the actual, focused on assets under management, because most people look, we'll back up. Most people will look at this, and they're focused on the 437. It's controlling the asset. Back to cash flow quadrant. You're getting an asset that someone else is paying you for. Not only are they paying your debt, they're paying you for it. Controlling the asset. Here's the secret, though. You can be a millionaire in as little as 3 years. It only takes 6 properties. Depending on the price point. You can probably get there in as few as 3. But if you were to buy 2 a year, in 3 years, you'd have 6. Given this example, a little over 1 million assets under management, prices are definitely a lot higher than when I wrote that out, so you can probably get there with much fewer. Does that surprise anyone on how few it actually takes when you actually look at assets under management? Of course, a couple key points to be successful in doing this. You have to know your numbers. The last thing you want is to buy a deal and not know your numbers and realize it's negative cash flow every month. That would be very painful to have to endure that. So don't want to do that. But really, rental properties are the easiest thing to buy because most things are known. You know what you're buying it for. You have a good idea of what it would sell for, but that's only relevant in the appraisal for your refi. Outside of that, the value doesn't have as much importance until you sell. And if you're not selling right now, who cares? It's the rehab. The rehab tends to be the big variable because rents, they're pretty easy to gauge. Unlike a sales price, where it can fluctuate depending on what features and the timing and the type of buyer and all that, rents, you're going to get pretty close within $100. You have to manage it like a pro. It's hard to say what's more important, knowing your numbers and managing it like a pro, because you can have a really good deal, and if you manage it bad, like it's a bad deal. And my best deals to buy are bad deals from other landlords. Now, they're usually landlords that they inherited the property, or they're a reluctant landlord, meaning they couldn't sell their house, so they just rented it out, and it just stayed rented for a while, and then they didn't check on the tenant for 10 years, and then now it's trashed. So you have to manage like a pro. If you want to do this yourself, I mean, there's benefit to it, but you've got to actually be on it. You got to be on the tenants. You got to literally send out the 3-day notice to vacate when they're not paying their rent on the 4th day or whatever you agreed on. You've got to check on the properties on renewals. You have to follow up, and of course, when they have issues, sincere issues, you got to be on that stuff. If you can't do that because of your job, or maybe you just don't like to, hire a property management company. There's a lot of great ones here. I know one was here tonight. There's flat fee companies that do a really, really good job. If you can stay on the ball and also do it legally and stay on top of laws and all that stuff, then managing yourself may be a good idea. But most people just want the cash flow. Let someone else handle those Friday and Saturday night. My AC went out in the summer calls because it's always Friday and Saturday, right? Is anybody? Financing, gotta stay on top of your financing. The acquisition financing is pretty easy because they're based on the asset. They're asset-based lenders if you're using short-term financing. But it's more of the back-end financing, knowing how you're gonna refi out. So especially if you're going conventional, because at some point it's gonna get more challenging to go conventional, and you may have to look at some other type of, even to a scale you'll get maxed out on how many Fannie, Freddie, or whatever loans you can get. And you'll have to go with commercial lenders, local banks. But knowing those terms in advance, and also staying in touch with the banker and your loan officer, like with your tax returns and your financials and all that. That way they can better understand your situation and give you constant updates on the type of products and interest rates and plans or whatever that you'll be able to refinance into. Accounting, don't do it yourself. I'm not gonna, well, I'll ask the question, but don't raise your hand. Like, if you're not a CPA, don't be using TurboTax to do this stuff. Like, I got audited. Now, it was my fault, actually, and it didn't cost me anything. It was a little error on a stock I sold at the time, but don't do this stuff yourself. There's a reason why CPAs, there's thousands upon thousands. They come up with this stuff all, like, every session to dump more and more regulations and all this stuff with the IRS. Like, you can't know it all. CPAs don't know it all. That's why CPAs specialize in various little sectors. Even they don't know it all. Hire the experts to do this stuff. And that goes also into bookkeeping. Don't do your own books. If you do your own books, it will cost you, unless you're a professional bookkeeper, which then I would still argue your time's better worth doing other activities. But it's going to cost you more money having a CPA fix bad books than it will be just to hire the $30, $40, $50 an hour bookkeeper. Ask me how I know. Escrow. Got to escrow. Repairs will come up. You own them long enough, hot water heaters go out, HVAC goes out, plumbing leaks, like the freeze we had last year. Even if it's insured, like tenants are in there, like if you want them to stay, you got to get on this stuff while they process a claim. You have to escrow for vacancy and repairs. Every rental property will have vacancy and repairs. Even the first two examples that the example from Mesquite, the one in Sugar Lane, and then the Hoover, one off 290, no vacancies until they moved out, and then I got it ready to put on the market. At that point, there was a forced vacancy. I told them I didn't renew the release, but we had escrowed. So we had money in the pot to pay the mortgage while we got it sold. You have to do that. And then reinvest, reinvest, reinvest. If you don't reinvest, it's hard to grow. Delay the Range Rover. That's all I got. You can connect with me on investedagent.com/community. I'm all over social media, so if you haven't connected with me yet, definitely check. It's a free community. We have a lot of live events just like this that I do for Quest, and we do a lot ourselves. We actually had a live event earlier today, and some in person, a lot of virtual, a lot of free resources. Also, if you'd like a copy of my book, it's an ebook. I have it at the lowest possible price Amazon would allow me to price it for without just being free, 99 cents. Don't mistake 99 cents for low value. And in pretty much everything I do, it's over-delivering. So I just want to get in as many hands as possible. So it's an ebook. I highly, highly appreciate, give me feedback, reviews. So read it, let me know what you think. I really, really would appreciate your reviews. And I guess we can open up for Q&A. Yeah.
Anybody have any questions? Questions for Chris?
There's always a 10-second delay. There we go.
So 2 questions.
Yeah.
So 2 questions. How do you get your leads? And then 2, do you do the property management yourself, or are you at the point where it's just not worth your time and energy?
Yeah, so leads have evolved on how we've got them over the years. It started off with door knocking, which is good if you have a lot of time. And then it evolved into direct mail, in which we had a little farm, and then we just expanded as we grew. That little farm was like Sugar Land, Richmond, and then it went into Katy, and then to Cypress, and to the point where we had a huge budget, and we were doing all over Houston Metro. I know today, and we started pulling back on direct mail because it was getting a lot more expensive to find the deals that we wanted. I know people who are doing direct mail still, and it works. It absolutely works. Cold calling, cold texting, that is hot. I don't do that. If you're going to do it, and it is very effective, but it's also, from a litigious standpoint, could be dangerous-ish. I don't know, just kind of know who you're, the do not call list, and make sure you're following those kind of guidelines. But from a net cost standpoint, as long as you have people that can do that for you, or if you've got a system to, especially mass texting, you can do that for very, very, very cheap. Social media, networking. For the longest time, actually, when we pulled back on direct mail, actually pulled back means shut off, we were getting tons of deals from wholesalers. But here's the trick with wholesalers. If you go to the biggest wholesaler in Houston, you can get deals. You're going to pay more. If you go to brand new wholesalers that don't have a big list, you can probably get a better deal. And now eventually, they'll get smart. They'll grow in their business just like you will, and they'll be able to sell things for more. But you can educate people who are wanting to get in the business and teach them, show them, hey, this is what to do, this is blah, blah. They're going to figure it out anyway, so don't worry about training or competition. They're going to figure it out if they're hungry enough. You just want to be the person they come to first. You might get a couple deals out of them, and then maybe you have a collaborative partnership. Social media. And by social media, I don't mean, hey, I'm a cash buyer, as is, 5 to 7 day close, call me. Has anybody ever seen that on social media? Okay, so this is a good point. How many in here can close in cash in 7 to 10 days? There's only 1, 2, okay.
So they need to see me afterwards.
Yeah, well, apparently, we've got 2 people. All right, so I'm gonna take that as everyone else just hasn't done a deal, or we're just kind of shy because it's late and 8 o'clock, tired.
It's not that late. We're getting there, though.
So there's not an active investor out there that can't offer cash, all cash, quick close. Most sellers don't need all cash, quick close. Sure. Unless they're under pre-foreclosure, which is a tiny, tiny percentage of all the sales, off-market sales that happen. They do not need all cash, quick close. And if that's all you're offering, you could potentially alienate them, meaning they think that's what you do, and that's not what they need, so they're going to go to someone else who's going to have a conversation with them. So if you're doing the social media route, my advice is content, contextual content. Having actual contextualized content on unique situations that's value for the end consumer that you're trying to reach. So if it is that pre-foreclosure, it may be having an actual conversation with a short sale expert. I mean, you're not introducing anything new to them. They know about short sales, but maybe interview someone and do it on a Facebook Live or a LinkedIn Live. They can catch that. They can contextualize it. You can do the same thing with flood housing, like especially if we get another flood event, like talk about contractors and mold remediation and all this stuff. You got to contextualize it. That's where everything's going. Google's killing cookies. Facebook's getting more expensive. Everything's contextualized. Everything's commoditized. It's all about contextual. Just think about how you shop, and that's how you need to reach your target market.
Perfect.
And you said 2 questions, but oh yeah, property management. We self-manage everything with the exception of the large apartment complex, and then there was a duplex for a while just because it was multifamily. We had with a property management company, but everything else we self-manage. And we have a good system the way we set up. Our VA does 75% of the work. And then when problems arise, late payments or repair issues, then the loop comes around. And then depending on what's needed, I may have some involvement there. But yeah, if you're up for it, but you will get the Friday call in the afternoon. They get off work, AC's out. And it's on July 3rd going into a holiday weekend. And then here's how that conversation goes. Well, thank you for letting me know. We are going to get a hold of someone and have someone come in as soon as possible. It's probably going to be Monday. I totally understand. Unfortunately, it's holiday weekend. It's probably going to be Monday before we can get anyone out there. You okay with that? I was. I actually had someone, and that happened, real life thing. They were telling me they had a baby. I mean, I'm sympathetic to that. I would be pretty pissed too. But at the end of the day, my guy can't get out there until Monday. And I was like, if you wanted to call someone, fine. I'll even pay the consult fee to diagnose the problem so I can tell my guy. And they did, and that guy was going to charge, and I was like, some ridiculous amount, like $8,000 or $12,000 or something. Had my guy come out there and fix it for $300. And they waited till Monday. But.
All right, any more questions before we move to online questions? Sir? All right, let me bring this mic over to you.
I've noticed that you started 2011.
Mm-hmm.
That's after the mortgage crisis.
Mm-hmm.
How do you prepare? Because we don't know when the next mortgage crisis could happen.
Mm-hmm.
What's your contingency plan if you have like 10 houses and you have high leverage?
I mean, you always need to have your leverage and cash flow management system in place. Like good times, bad times. It's easier in good times because liquidity is, it's easier to get money, right? I think the root question there is, what am I going to do if there's a crash, right? So I think a lot of people are talking about a crash because we've had a good 10 years. Just my opinion, I'm not predicting the future, but we're 4 million houses short right now. 4 million houses short of just meeting normal demand of where we should be. And we're, from a construction standpoint, they're not even the slightest bit prepared to start catching up to that. So from a buy and hold with a long-term plan, you're okay. Keep reserves, keep escrowing. I wouldn't worry too much about that. If you're trying to flip, and there is a slowdown, whether sudden or gradual, and you're using comps today because you're looking at the comps and things are hot, and like that one house that I said we're probably going to end up selling because it's gone up in like 40 grand over the last 6 months. If you're using those comps and all of a sudden that neighborhood flattens out and now it starts to go back down in a short period of time or even short term, and you're flipping, but your cost basis was on the higher comps, well, that could be a problem. But if you're buying and holding, time typically cures that. In Houston, and I didn't have rentals prior to 2011 in Houston, so if anyone did, the market dipped, but it was more of a slight dip and then kind of flat line for a while before it started picking back up. It wasn't Vegas. It wasn't San Francisco where it like fell off a cliff. I just don't see anything that's going to change that in the near term. They'll overbuild again sometime, and then we'll buy more.
All right. Any more before we move on to online questions? Anybody? Bueller? Nothing? All right. So we have some real quick. We have a couple minutes left for a couple more questions, but we had some online. First one is, did you have any of your renters not pay rent during the COVID moratorium?
So one tenant said, and this was right when all the chaos was going on, during the lockdowns or ish, and they lost their job. They said they can't pay rent, and so at that point, we're kind of freaking out because we know we can't evict them. Pure thankful, they actually got another job somewhere else, and they moved out voluntarily. It happened really quickly, like within a week. So I'm glad they were hustling, and I was very thankful because they could have burrowed up there for 9 months. The only other case we had was someone else who she got behind. We worked with her, and she caught up, and she's still there. So those were my only cases. I know other people had more extreme cases, but I didn't have much of an issue.
Right, that's good. That's good. We have a couple other questions online. But before I do, does anybody still have any questions here? Just want to double check. All right, good deal. So the next one we have is, where did you get your funds to buy and rehab, and or do you do your own rehab?
From Quest clients.
Nice.
So if you buy using hard money or asset-based lenders or private lenders, if you buy it cheap enough, which is usually 70% or so minus repairs, 75% in some cases minus repairs. A lot of times they'll fund your full acquisition plus repairs. Market to market's different. I know in some markets they do want skin in the game, like 10% or so. Some will take lines of credit, or if you have access to cash. That's what I used. I had lines of credit available. We used Jet Lending, who's in Houston, and they loan all over Texas, I think. And we used them on our first several flips. But we had a line of credit to cover that liquidity gap that we were going to need to front the repairs as they reimbursed us. So even if you don't need it, go get a line of credit. Big banks will usually give it, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, those big banks, unsecured. Don't touch it, and then just use it either as liquid reserves or to front the repairs as your lenders, as you have draw requests, and then let them reimburse you.
Solid. And then last question we have online before we just kind of cut it, because we are getting kind of just a little late. The bartender's still here, thankfully. So the last one is, do you own or finance any of your properties at all?
I've never have, and it's not my game. Now, I know people who do, and they're very successful at it. I just choose to either rent it out. Here's the thing with an owner's finance note. It's a depreciating asset. Now, it is pure, whereas rental properties is a wealth building game. You're really letting tenants paying down the mortgage, gaining equity that way, gaining equity through appreciation. Owner's finance is a cash flow game. It's pure cash flow. You don't really have to manage anything other than the note servicing, which companies can do that for you. But cash is cheap, and that's why the appreciation's been going up, because the low interest rates, it makes it very easy to get cash buyers, and then I can just take that money and use it for other assets.
Solid. All right. Before we close out, we got any other questions for Chris? Nothing? All right, let's give him a round of applause. All right.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all.
Thank you so much, Chris, for joining us today. It was a wonderful presentation. Who here enjoyed it today? Who learned something new today? Love it. All right. So we're going to close out here. We still have our bartender for another 30 minutes or so. So make sure you, get your last minute drinks, do some more networking. We have networking until about 8:30, 8:45. So stick around. Real quick, does anybody here a realtor? Raise your hand. Got a couple realtors in here? Great. So if you have not already signed up for our 3-hour CE February 10th, we have an online 3-hour CE. Again, it's completely free, so we know you guys need those credit hours. We come to the Quest booth. We can get you signed up for our CE. Anybody else? Make sure you come to our event next month, first Tuesday of every month. So without further ado, let's kind of close it out. Thank you guys for coming, and hope to see you next month. Thank you. Thank you, everybody online as well.